If you were to look at Earth from the International Space Station at night, you'd be able to see the lights of the cities from space. That's how big our impact as a species is. There are huge multicultural cities all around the world. We've built buildings so high they nearly disappear out of sight. Cities built from the ground up for thousands and thousands of people to live in. But oh, what's this? What a beautiful monkey! What are you doing there, buddy? You want that banana? Yeah, it looks delicious. Be careful now, don't fall down that tree. Oops. Boy, nature can be so brutal sometimes. I'll bet it didn't wake up thinking it was going to become a lion's breakfast. What? No humans? Where did they all go? Looks like when that monkey fell from the tree, it created a chain of events that led to no humans ever existing on Earth. I know what this is. We must be in an alternate universe. Well, let's skip a few thousand years ahead. What does Earth look like? Humans have altered about 50% or more of the planet's surface. So there aren't going to be any cities or landscape previously shaped by us in this reality. There's not going to be a human touch at all. The Earth now seems to be an animal paradise. They're everywhere. These animals that were previously only found in Africa are now all over different continents. There are lions roaming free in America. Oh, and look, in Europe, there are rhinos, elephants, wolves. Wow, moose. Even bears are here. Since there are no humans taking up most of Earth's space, mammals are now free to be everywhere. Well, you know, different mammals than us. There's a huge diversity of them too. Earth has become what seems to be an expansion of the Africa we know today in terms of animal species. You can see large mammals too. Giant sloths, saber-tooths, and even mastodons are now walking the Earth like in the olden times. The reason why our Earth isn't like this is that humans take up a lot of the available space with their structures. For example, the reason why there's so much animal diversity in Africa in our universe isn't that the continent is just suited for animals to thrive. It's mostly because we haven't been too active in a big part of the continent. Our ancestors had a lot to do with the extinction of large mammals. Ice Age wasn't the only culprit there. On our Earth, humans are the intelligent life form. How about on this planet? As you might know, natural selection is what guides evolution. This, combined with random mutations we can observe in some species, suggests that even without humans on Earth, there's a chance for intelligent life to develop. So, primates are now the dominant life form, or maybe the meerkats evolved into a dominant species. The climate on this Earth is also cooler than ours. That's because there are no greenhouse gases. According to NASA, the current Earth warming trend is likely the result of human activity since the 1950s. This means the increased levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere are the reason why our planet warms up. Greenhouse gases are called like this because, just like a greenhouse, they trap the heat. They let sunlight pass through the atmosphere, but the heat it brings doesn't leave our atmosphere because of them. They're a good thing because otherwise life on Earth wouldn't even be possible. But because now they're too abundant, it causes the planet to warm more than it should. Now, let's go back to our alternate Earth. In the water, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia is still fully intact. And it's still the largest coral reef system there is, as well as the biggest living organism on the planet, just like ours. This new Earth is also full of trees, and lush ones at that. Greenery everywhere. All sorts of trees exist and are home to all the different animals on the planet. And since there's no deforestation, the planet's lungs, the Amazon rainforest, is able to thrive and is looking more alive and vibrant than ever. But say, what if humans were to show up on this Earth right now? Maybe this year, or the year before? They certainly wouldn't be the dominant species immediately, and would probably struggle at the very beginning. The evolution and learning process would be a slow one until they find themselves at the top. They have to adapt to their new home. This would be like traveling to around 130,000 years ago in our reality, to a place where modern humans, or Homo sapiens, had just shown up. Humans back then weren't new. The only new thing about them was that they evolved into Homo sapiens. It wasn't like we were dropped off from a spaceship onto Earth or anything like that. But in this alternative reality, That's exactly what happened. A bunch of humans were dropped from the sky on Earth. Now, they must learn everything from the ground up. They need to figure out how to survive and thrive in their new environment. They have to hunt for their own food, and they need to take what they can from the planet, much like we did 130,000 years ago. These new humans are nomads. They can't settle in one exact place because they need to explore and understand their surroundings, just like the animals that surround them. As their groups become larger, they split into smaller ones to find new places suited to build their homes, or even a place where survival might be easier. Since it's been a while that they've arrived on this new Earth, they've done some exploring and found themselves more comfortable in their new setting. Their tools are better developed, and home-like structures, like huts, finally start appearing. 50,000 years ago, we developed our language. These humans also developed their own because they need to communicate better with each other. With language, they become more and more organized and are able to make better plans for their future. All dogs come from wolves, and there are two theories of how it might have happened that wild beasts became humans' best friends. One theory says early humans somehow ended up capturing wolf pups and kept them as pets, and over time they would gradually domesticate wolves. Another theory states that wolves actually domesticated themselves. It's called survival of the friendliest. Because both wolves and humans were hunters, wolves probably also figured out they would have benefits if they stuck around humans instead of competing directly with them. Some wolves were fearful and aggressive toward humans. Others might have been friendlier, which also likely gave them access to the hunter's food supplies. As time passes, modern human behavior starts showing up. Fixed homes begin to appear in places that benefit people, maybe next to a river or places where the soil is fertile. This way, they're also able to become farmers and develop agriculture. As they settle down, communities start arising too. Since they are very social beings, it's only natural they're drawn to one another. Soon humans are all over the planet, spread around the continents, with communities and families of their own, and don't forget the pets. The planet's landscape shifts like it did in our reality, to accommodate the needs of humans. Cultures are developed, rivalry begins, they start pushing each other to great lengths. Thousands and thousands more years go by, and this human society starts to look a lot like the one we have today. Still, things might have happened a different way. There might have already been an intelligent species they would have had to compete with, and then their progress would probably have staggered a bit. Maybe a society could emerge where different intelligent life forms would be able to peacefully coexist. When you enter a coffee shop, a meerkat might be your barista. Your landlords could be a couple of gorilla siblings. Or when you go to a barber shop, a primate that's only wearing a barber jacket would be the one to cut your hair. If not, it's likely things would end up the same as our reality. Humans would not be the most numerous species on Earth, but they would certainly still be the most impactful one. Not so long ago, astronomers discovered a planet that got the name of UCF 1.01. This world is about 33 light-years away from Earth. This makes the planet our next-door neighbor, in the cosmic scheme of things, of course. Honestly speaking, the space body is only a planet candidate because astronomers haven't measured its mass yet, but they have high hopes. The wannabe planet is very different from our Earth. Just 1.7 million miles away from its star, it completes its orbit in a day and a half. It's a scorching, deserted world with the temperatures at the surface rising up to 1,000 degrees. Even more astounding, the entire planet is likely to be covered in magma. Even if UCF 10 ever had an atmosphere, it has definitely boiled away by now. But then, the question is, what if Earth once went through some catastrophic event and it left our planet in the same state, boiling hot with the surface covered by a thick layer of lava? Would people manage to adapt to such conditions and move to live underground? It sounds unbelievable, But experts are sure that with time, humans would turn into healthy and rather happy mole people. Of course, life would be very different than today. No more sunsets and sunrises. No more traveling by plane and space exploration, unless people found a way to launch a rocket from under the ground. No more picnics in the park or sunbathing at the seashore. People would have to build a vast network of underground tunnels that would connect major cities. The most likely transport in this new world would be silent high-speed trains and electric cars. After moving underground, people would have not only physical but also psychological difficulties. In the beginning, their new home would be a dark, barren place, without fresh air and devoid of any color. To adapt to these tough living conditions, people would have to make some design changes. Greenhouses, well-lit parks with trees and illusions of the sky, familiar scents and sounds. All this would help people to adjust to their new life. After living underground for several generations, people would start to look a bit different. Pale because of the lack of sunlight, with sensitive large eyes adapted to dimmer lighting and more developed lungs. As for the very possibility of living underground, well, hear me out. You might imagine the Earth's depths as a huge mass of compressed solid rock. But the reality is different. This mass is heavily cracked. Water runs down the fractures and cracks in the planet's outer layer, the crust. Some of these streams reach the depth of many miles. In other words, subsurface Earth could probably support plant and animal life. If people lived underground, they wouldn't have a shortage of fresh water. Its reservoirs in the planet's interior contain 100 times more water than all the lakes, rivers, and swamps combined. Plus, this water trickles through the soil that acts as a purifier. But people would have to be super careful to keep the sources of water intact. Otherwise, the underground cities would get flooded and turn into giant water-filled traps. It would also be a great challenge to live without sunlight. Plants can't survive without the sun's ultraviolet light. It's absolutely necessary for photosynthesis because sunlight is used to get nutrients from carbon dioxide in water. One of the byproducts of this process is oxygen, the thing people can't live without. So, no sunlight equals no plants equals no oxygen. Sunlight is also crucial for humans. For example, it helps your brain release serotonin, a hormone that boosts your mood and makes you feel focused and calm. Thanks to the ultraviolet B radiation in the sun's rays, your skin produces vitamin D. It's vital for a strong immune system and healthy bones, teeth, and muscles. That's why people would have to find a replacement for sunlight. Luckily, LED lamps that can give off UV wavelength could produce the light human bodies and plants crave so much. In the new underground world, there wouldn't be large sunlit fields. Instead, there would be sprawling greenhouses with LED lights shining from the ceiling. Special machines would feed plants and crops with recycled water rich in nutrients. In some areas, located in the narrow underground faults, people would use something like shipping containers instead of greenhouses. These containers would be packed with vertical rows of plants and blue and red LED bulbs. As for people, they would have to follow a vitamin D-rich diet. It'd mean eating a lot of egg yolks, cheese, fish, spinach, soybeans, and so on. If these foods weren't enough, vitamin D supplements would do the trick. Without daylight, people would have problems with their circadian rhythms that regulate sleep patterns. If you were isolated somewhere without a glimmer of light, you would easily sleep for 48 hours at a stretch. That's why people living under the Earth's surface would rely on artificial lights to control their internal clock. There wouldn't be any problems with electricity. It would be produced with the help of the Earth's inner heat. Such kind of energy is called geothermal, from the Greek words geo, earth, and therm, heat. It can be extracted from hot water and rocks. Like an onion, our planet is made up of several layers. The innermost part is a solid core around 1,500 miles across. Made of iron, it's surrounded by a scorching outer core. It's up to 1,400 miles thick and is mostly composed of liquid nickel and iron. The next layer is the mantle. Even though lots of people picture it as lava, the mantle is actually rock. But this rock is so hot that it flows, just like road tar. The temperature in the Earth's core is as high as 10,800 degrees Fahrenheit. That's almost 1,000 degrees more than at the Sun's surface. The mantle is also blistering, from 7,000 degrees at the boundary with the core to 400 degrees in its outer parts. No wonder people wouldn't have any difficulties with transforming all this heat into electrical energy. But because the insides of our planet are insanely hot, people wouldn't be able to build cities too deep underground. All inhabitable areas would most likely stay closer to the surface. The Earth's outermost part, the crust, is like the shell of a hard-boiled egg. It's broken into gigantic blocks called tectonic plates. When two plates collide, mountains get formed and new rifts appear in the seafloor. They have different width, from 25 miles thick beneath the continents to 5 miles thick beneath the oceans. These blocks travel around, floating on the Earth's mantle, slowly, almost imperceptibly. It means underground cities would also move, but it would be next to impossible to notice these movements. Oh, by the way, people started to believe there might be another world inside our planet in the 17th century. The idea got the name of the hollow Earth theory. It claimed that half the planet was taken up by its surface weight. Below the surface, there was some empty space. A small sun hung at the very center of that cavity, creating a comfortable tropical environment on the inner side of Earth's surface. One could enter the Earth's interior through one of the openings near the South and North Poles. A race of advanced humans was believed to live inside the planet. They were peaceful and lived for centuries. Well, obviously not humans. They had unique technologies, for example, flying vehicles. And since the climate inside the planet was better than that on the surface, this race was much stronger and healthier. Even though this idea sounds like science fiction, several famous scientists supported it. Some people are still sure there's another world inside our planet. But if the Earth was hollow, it wouldn't have a magnetic field. And without a magnetic field, solar winds would rid our planet of its atmosphere in the blink of an eye. This would leave our green planet deserted and uninhabitable, like Mars is. The magnetic field on our planet exists thanks to the processes going on in its very much not hollow center. Liquid metals are constantly moving in the Earth's outer core, generating electric currents. When the planet rotates around its axis, the electric currents form a powerful magnetic field. The sunward side of the magnetosphere is as large as 10 Earth's radii, and the other side stretches out in a magnetotail that spreads for 200 times the Earth's radius. For several years, NASA's spaceship Kepler was wandering through space. It studied more than 150,000 stars across the galaxy. This search had a specific goal: to find planets that are similar to Earth. These planets might become our second home, but it'll happen only in the distant future when humanity begins to colonize space. The mission was successful. Kepler found loads of planets that got called super-Earths. In our solar system, there's not a single planet that can be called super-Earth. Some scientists think it may be hidden somewhere on the edge of our system, but nobody has found direct evidence of this. A super-Earth sounds impressive, but in fact it's unlikely to look anything like our planet. All over the universe, there are many such supers. To become a super-Earth, a planet must weigh from 1 to 10 times the mass of our planet. It also has to be twice its size and powered by a star's energy. That's all the criteria. The surface of such a planet may be rocky or gaseous or even mixed. Imagine living on such a planet. It's the same as ours, with similar atmosphere, climate, and landscape, but several times larger. Our lives are different here. Because of the increased mass, the gravity on this planet is much stronger. There are no high mountains or trees in this world. Everest is several times smaller. Most trees don't grow higher than a single-story building. People are also more compact. It's difficult for the body to grow tall when gravity presses on it with double or triple force. The average height of a grown-up is 3 feet. There are almost 8 billion people on Earth today. In large cities, people feel quite crowded. But on the super-Earth, the area is twice larger. People are smaller too. They drive small cars and live in small houses. That's why there's much more space. The air is cleaner, and not all parts of this planet are fully explored yet. Days and nights here last longer than on good old Earth. Today is Monday, and Tuesday will start in 48 hours. But people still don't have enough free time. Working hours are longer now, and people need more time to sleep, rest, and commute. But the cool thing is that now people are much stronger and more resilient. If an ordinary person gets to the super-Earth, they will feel as if they're carrying a heavy backpack filled with bricks. Their muscles won't be used to hauling such a load at all times. Even during sleep, they'll feel heavy. In an unprepared person, this pressure can damage bones and muscles and lead to unpleasant consequences. But since people have been living on the super-Earth for thousands of years, they've evolved and adapted to the new conditions. On this planet, human bones are as strong as iron. Muscles are as hard as a rock. People are small but powerful creatures. But they don't know about their own strength. Everything around them is heavy, and this is the norm. Trees are sturdier, and their wood is more durable, which means the furniture is more massive. A single sheet of paper on the super-Earth can weigh 10 times more than the ones we're used to. The average passenger car can weigh as much as 2 fire trucks, and a teaspoon is heavier than a dumbbell. But since the weight of all vehicles is greater than that on our planet, people need more power and fuel to reach higher speeds. They use a lot of gasoline. Much more resources are needed to send rockets into space. It takes more fuel to overcome the gravity of super-Earth and leave its atmosphere. Spacecraft also have to weigh less. When everything is so heavy and dense, you don't feel super strong. But let's say you're a resident of the super-Earth and decide to visit good old Earth one day. You become a superhuman here. You can come up to any car, put your hands against its trunk, and start moving it. In the gym, you can easily lift any weight. With one strike, you can leave a crack in a concrete wall or punch through a wooden board. All of this looks extremely impressive, considering your small stature. Your legs, used to heavy loads, feel so light here. You can easily jump from one roof to another. If you accidentally fall from a 2-story building, your body won't receive any serious damage. Your skin won't be scratched, your bones will easily withstand the fall. On Earth, you become a superhero. Unfortunately, a super-Earth with the conditions perfect for humans hasn't been found yet. These planets are still poorly understood. They can even pose a danger to people. A large mass means a huge amount of energy, and this energy needs to be released. If we lived on the super-Earth, volcanic eruptions would be as common as thunderstorms. The increased gravity could also cause more tectonic plates movement. The landscape and the planet's crust would be very unstable. Imagine earthquakes waking you up every day. Such conditions would encourage people to develop a great sense of balance. There would also be special technologies strengthening house foundations. Frequent shifts of tectonic plates would trigger huge tsunamis. Oceans would constantly change their shape. Vast areas of land would get flooded. In such changing conditions, people would never be able to build permanent cities and live comfortably. Plus, if people ever came here, it'd be difficult for them to fly away because of the planet's powerful gravitational force. Space objects flying past the super-Earth would be more likely to fall on the planet. In addition to volcanic eruptions and earthquakes, there would be frequent meteor showers, and those wouldn't be just tiny rocks that evaporate in the atmosphere. Huge asteroids could be thrown off their course by the planet's gravity. People would have to build a machine that could destroy meteorites before they enter the atmosphere. But even if they succeeded, hundreds of chunks of space rock would still fall on the super-Earth. After all these catastrophes, people would most likely understand that there's only one super awesome Earth, and it's our home planet. The worst thing that can happen to Earth is the hardening of its core. As soon as it stops working, the planet will lose the shield that protects it and us from space radiation. Solar storms and blasts of energy can create serious problems for people. All electronics will stop functioning normally. The internet, power plants, traffic lights, computers, airplanes, you name it. To survive in such a place, people would have to live under a huge dome. It wouldn't allow radiation and meteorites to pass through. But many super-Earths have conditions that are even tougher than that. For example, there's a planet where the air temperature is so high metals get vaporized there. It's unlikely any life forms can appear in such a place. But if people had to evolve there, our species would be invulnerable. Imagine creatures covered in skin that's stronger and more elastic than any material on Earth. Walking through fire would be as ordinary to them as breathing air. The inhabitants of this world would probably try to take over other planets. The only thing they wouldn't be able to withstand would be low temperatures. A light warm breeze would seem like an ice-cold gust of wind to them. There's another super-Earth similar to this one. It receives tremendous amounts of energy from the nearest star. Because of this, the temperatures there are so high they even destroy molecules. In the depths of space, scientists have found another super-Earth. It's 2.5 times the size of our planet and is completely covered with water. There's not a single patch of land on it. The planet is super heavy. That's why it's tilted a bit to the side. When this super-Earth rotates on its axis, water flows from one side to another. Massive destructive tsunamis are a common occurrence on this planet. If people lived there, they would look more like amphibians than humans. Another super-Earth is 6 light-years away from us. Its mass is 3 times that of our Earth. It takes the planet about 233 days to orbit its star. This planet receives only 2% of the star's energy. The surface of this world is a dark place, covered with ice. One of the most amazing planets out there seems quite friendly and potentially habitable. Just like our Earth, it glows with blue light, but its appearance is deceptive. On this super-Earth, winds blow at 7 times the speed of sound. But the main danger is glass rains. Trillions of shards turn everything that gets in their way into powder. Gee, no, I'll have to pass on that one. Ooh, you're on a beautiful planet with unusual nature. Around you are ordinary people walking on this exotic planet. And now, get this, it's our new home. Humanity decided it was time to leave the Earth, and now we live very far away in another galaxy. But what happened to our home planet? Well, our solar system itself had an expiration date. It's been 7.5 billion years since 2020, and the Sun began to expand, absorbing planet after planet – Mercury, Venus, Earth. But the living conditions on Earth were unsuitable for us long before that. Let's go back there. In 4.5 billion years, our entire Milky Way galaxy will experience an incredible incident. The Andromeda Galaxy will hit us at great speed. As a result of the collision, some stars will be thrown into distant space, while others will form new solar systems. But most likely, all life in the new Milkomedia or Milkdromeda galaxy will cease to exist. That's why people decided to pack up their things, get into new generation spacecrafts, and go to distant space in search of a new home. There can be an infinite number of planets in the universe on which humans can theoretically live. One of the main ingredients, the planet must orbit the star in its habitable zone. This means the temperature must allow the water to be liquid. We find similar star systems almost every year and have recently found the nearest one. It's Proxima Centauri. There are at least 2 planets around this red dwarf on which we can build our new home. But the problem is that this system is as far as 4.2 light-years away. So we had to open our garage and choose a vehicle that could take us so far. Saturn V is a rocket that used to take humans to the moon. It could reach the speed 30 times faster than the speed of sound. Today, we have more advanced technologies, like the SpaceX Falcon Heavy rocket. However, its speed is still about the same. It would take such a rocket about 113,000 years to overcome the distance to the closest star. So, you walk through the garage further and see the fastest human-made space object ever, the Parker Solar Probe. Its speed is a little less than 500,000 miles per hour, but it uses the gravity of the Sun to accelerate. Let's assume we can build a rocket that can reach this speed. Now, we sit behind a star map, do calculations, draw diagrams, and 6,600 years. And now, let's look at the photon. These are the tiniest particles that travel at the speed of light. And an obvious thought comes to your mind. How do you build a ship that can travel as fast as a photon? Well, until recently, travel at this speed was considered impossible. Fundamental laws of physics say that no object that has a mass can accelerate this much. Energy is required to accelerate mass. And to reach the speed of light, which is about 186,000 miles per second, we need an infinite amount of energy. But it's still too slow. Raise your eyes and look at the Sun. It's so close to us, but the light from it reaches our planet in 8 minutes, about the time it takes to go through the drive-thru and get your burger. And the journey to the nearest star will take 4.2 years. You can graduate from college during such a period. But we may have found a way to cheat the laws of physics and travel faster than light. Warp drive. It's a technology that manipulates space and time to break the laws of motion. In science fiction, it's a kind of field that envelops a spacecraft like a bubble or a shell and allows it to significantly exceed the speed of light. And we already have a similar technology, sort of. It's the Alcubierre warp drive. Since it's impossible to move at the speed of light in normal space-time, the ship must move by compressing the space in front of it and expanding it behind it. So not only the ship itself moves, but so does the space-time inside this bubble. In fact, this will allow the spacecraft to move at any speed, even 10 times faster than the speed of light. But to warp space-time, the ship must be simply humongous in size. It will need the quantity of energy comparable to the amount of mass energy of the whole planet of Jupiter. But at recent symposiums, scientists began to say that there is hope. In 2069, NASA plans to launch an interstellar mission to explore inhabitable planets outside our solar system. We do not yet know the details of this mission. It doesn't even have a name yet, but it will be dedicated to the 100th anniversary of the Apollo mission, the first man landing on the moon's surface. Here, near Pasadena, California, a small group of scientists from NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab are trying their best to make it happen, and their latest calculations have made everyone shout Eureka! It turns out the ring around the ship, which should create the so-called warp field, shouldn't be perfectly round as it was thought before. It's more like donut-shaped. This will greatly simplify the design and construction. And the best part, to test this technology, a spacecraft the size of Voyager 1 probe will suffice. Researchers are now aiming to reach at least 10% of the speed of light and launch the probe to Alpha Centauri. In this case, to overcome the distance of 4.4 light-years, the probe will need about 44 years. For comparison, the Voyager 1 mission was launched on September 5, 1977. In 43 years, it's traveled about 14 billion miles and is the most remote human-made object. It's also the loneliest one in the universe. It has long since left the boundaries of our solar system and is moving further into outer space. But rest assured, scientists have a couple more ideas in their secret laboratories. There are rumors now that they know how to reach the speed of light. The Space Association is considering launching small drones powered by lasers. Nuclear force, as well as collisions of matter and antimatter, can give enough energy to accelerate an object to the speed of light too. But their colleagues in a nearby laboratory are working hard to implement another technology, ion propulsion. It uses gas particles accelerated by the electric field. Simply put, your regular rocket is a daredevil on the road. He pulls the throttle to the max and burns an incredible amount of fuel to accelerate to the speed he needs. But ion propulsion is a careful old lady driving. She slowly presses the gas pedal and accelerates. On the scale of space, the old lady will have more efficiency and will be able to drive much further than the daring young man. Something we'll keep an eye on. Still, an unknown number of years will pass until there's a way to implement warp drive or ion propulsion. We want to make humankind interstellar, but first, we need to keep it alive at least. Now we're actively developing technologies to send the first manned mission to Mars. Colonization of Mars will be the first stage to make our species interstellar. It'll be a kind of rehearsal before colonizing distant planets. We must understand that although the conditions on the exoplanets may be close to earthly ones, we will still have to terraform them. We must test our technology on Mars to warm it up to the normal Earth temperature. We also need to increase atmospheric pressure so that water could exist in a liquid state, and create an ozone layer that will protect us from solar radiation. After that, we'll be able to breathe freely on the surface of Mars without spacesuits. We need to master all these technologies before we can create a real warp drive. Centuries ago, people sailed the oceans and perfected their ships to fully explore our planet. Now, we will be the generation to build new ships and go on long journeys outside the Earth. Warp drive will open up incredible horizons for us. Take a look at our galaxy. There are countless stars. Around each of them may be planets, and on some of them, there may be life. Warp drive will allow us to get in contact with this life and explore our galaxy much faster. And this future is already close. Soon, we'll have the chance to join the pioneers, put on beautiful suits, and travel the expanses of space in search of adventure. The screech of brakes on wet road, eyes of the driver filled with horror, an ear-splitting bump of impact. You open your eyes to the rain falling on your face and don't see anything through the blur at first. Then your vision clears, and you see the gray sky and the black spot of a face above you. "Are you all right? I'm so sorry, I didn't see you." You get up with the help of the driver who hit you. Thankfully, apart from torn clothes, no serious damage has been done, and you don't even feel pain. Your exoskeleton took all the impact upon itself. The driver offers to call an ambulance, but you refuse. Still, you both wait for the police to arrive. You tell them it was your fault for crossing the street in a wrong place. They give you a warning and let you both go. At home, you take off your shirt and check the chitin plates on your side. They seem absolutely fine. Exoskeleton is such a wonderful evolutionary feature after all. The plates are hard enough to take a serious impact without breaking, yet they're also flexible, acting a bit like a spring when something hits them. By the way, about that hit, you clearly remember that you didn't run across the road as fast as you used to. You frown and swing your arms and legs, then bend at the waist to check your suspicions. It's becoming harder for you to move. The shell is too rigid. Well, it's time to molt then. You take a couple of deep breaths and then inhale as hard as you can. You hear cracking from behind. That's the hard shell coming apart. Your body's grown and it feels awkward inside the exoskeleton, but the outer part of it doesn't grow, as opposed to the rest of you. It's not alive. You hold your breath, your chest pumped up, and finally, the crack is large enough for you to take the carapace off. But first, you get up and take a small crowbar from your desk, kept there for this exact reason. You push it under the plates in your arm and free your elbow joints. Feels like freedom. The hard stuff falls on the ground, and underneath, there's a soft and wrinkly skin, getting harder as you watch. With your new and a bit bigger arms, you reach behind and help yourself out of the carapace altogether. Great! Now you're pink and wrinkled, and your sensitivity is spiked. Your fresh skin is tender to the touch. It won't tolerate any stress. It'll take a night for the new exoskeleton to harden and become protective. So you lie on the bed again and soon fall asleep. In the morning, you're covered with hard plates again. Good. The phone vibrates, and you see a reminder. It's Saturday, time for your weekly sledding race. You quickly dress, take your sports bag, and leave. You decide to ride your motorbike to the sledding hall. No protection needed, the carapace is hard enough to take any kind of accident. The wind pleasantly ruffles your hair, and in 20 minutes, you're there. Your teammates wave at you from the top of the track, already in their sports suits. Today, you agreed to try and take on the longest one, with several sharp turns and a high start. You go first. The rush of wind immediately blows in your face. The speed is getting higher every second. The first sharp turn comes, you stretch your arm to the side to slow down and turn, and you make it. But the second turn appears too quickly, and you don't react in time. It goes as if in slow motion. You approach the turn head-on, trying hard to swerve, but only banking a little bit. Then you're sliding straight onto the ramp, and you're in the air, flying over it. The ground of the hall is getting closer. Smack! You're rolling in the artificial grass, protecting your head with your arms. You slowly get up, feeling your body all over for the signs of cracks in the carapace. Your teammates come over, worried. You seem to be fine, but there's a creak and a dull ache in the side when you tilt your torso to the left. You apologize and leave to the nearest hospital. The doctor inspects your carapace and orders an X-ray. On the picture, you see a small splinter between two plates that go straight into the soft tissue below. That's where the ache comes from. Thing is, the hard and flexible plates are firmly connected with the muscle and other tissues underneath. So if anything gets in between the plates, it goes into your body proper. The doctor takes tweezers from her desk and carefully pulls out the splinter. You feel a sharp pang, and then relief. You thank her and are already moving to leave when you hear a groan from behind a curtain in the back of the office. Then the curtain shifts a bit, and you see a human arm. But it looks strange, as if the carapace has gone off. Someone's molting here, right? You look at the doctor in surprise, but she suddenly stands up and urgently sees you out the door. You decide to find out what's going on and stay nearby, inconspicuously watching the doctor's office. Patients come and go, but when lunchtime comes, you see your chance. The doctor leaves and forgets to lock the door. You take a look around and sneak in while nobody's watching. "Doctor, is that you?" A voice comes from behind the curtain. Trembling in fear and anticipation, you put your hand on it. You take a deep, calming breath and throw it open. Behind it, on a couch, lies a man, covered in bandages up to his face, with only a few patches of body seen through the white layers. And those patches don't have any signs of carapace on them. The man looks at you in shock and presses the button he holds in his right hand. Almost immediately, the door flings open and two pairs of strong hands take you under the armpits and haul you out of the office. Then you feel a sharp prick in your neck, and the world goes dark. You wake up from noise and shaking. You hear quiet voices and open your eyes just a bit. Through the slits, you see you're in a car, and right above you sits the same doctor from the hospital. But she's different. Her hands and neck are covered in carapace all right, but her face looks naked and alive. She suddenly looks at you and her eyes grow wide. She shouts, "Stop the truck!" and hurriedly takes something from the bench beside her. She applies it to her face, and you see it's a carapace mask. The car starts to slow down, and you see your chance. You spring to your feet and throw yourself onto the back door of the truck, forcing it to open. You land awkwardly, scramble to your feet, and run. Behind you, the doctor cries, "Stop! Please, wait!" But you run even faster. You manage to hitch a ride to your neighborhood and walk home from there. But when you approach your house, you see a suspicious car standing on the curb. With horror, you realize you've provided all your details to the hospital upon check-in. They know who you are and where you live. You turn around to run before they notice you, but only bump into the fake doctor again. You back off slowly, but there are two large men already coming towards you from the car. You look around in panic, but the doctor raises her hand in a peace gesture and asks you to talk inside. You seem to have no choice, so you two come into your home, leaving the other men outside. When you both sit down, the doctor takes off her mask again. It turns out she was born with a genetic anomaly. Her skeleton is not outside her body, but inside, and it has a bony structure. She was laughed at during her childhood. Other kids called her Skinny Mary, so she took the old carapaces of her parents and adapted them to fit her. She dedicated the rest of her life to finding others like her, all the while hiding her real identity from everyone else. But the only one she could find so far was the man you saw in her office. He got into a car accident, and his old borrowed carapace didn't save him from injuries. And then you came by. After the story, the doctor apologized for her earlier behavior and asked you if you would like to participate in her new experiment. She wanted to give herself, that man, and other people like them an opportunity to live a normal life among others, and for that, she needed parts of a carapace that hadn't been molted yet. It's safe, she assures you. The shell will grow back, as always. And after thinking for a while, you agree. She smiles and thanks you. You go to a lab Mary rented and lie on the table on her cue. You see Jake, the injured man from her office, on a table nearby, unconscious. The doctor says she'll need to give you a general anesthetic and put you under to take samples of your carapace. You nod, and she injects the medication. You wake up with a feeling of freshness in your body. You look at yourself and see fresh skin slowly turning hard, just like the day before. Above you stands Mary. She's smiling with tears in her eyes. You look to the side and see Jake, sitting on his table, with the carapace clinging perfectly to his body.
When you want to say something, your brain sends a signal to your lungs, mouth, tongue. In a moment, you pronounce the word. Light reflects off objects. Your eyes translate it into electrical impulses, and your brain understands what you're looking at. Talking, moving, seeing, breathing, it's all a split-second transfer of signals going on in your body. Now, imagine you have not 2, but 16 billion eyes, hands, and feet. No, your own physical body hasn't changed at all. But your brain is taking in information from 8 billion other people on the planet as well. Because it's not your brain and mind. All these bodies are controlled by one common brain. It's not as sci-fi as it sounds. Collective intelligence already exists in nature. Beehives and ant colonies have a unique ability to work as one single organism. A colony of insects resembles a working brain, where each individual inside is like a neuron. So, what if evolution created humans, not as independent beings with our own personal thoughts, known only to us except when we decide to share them? Let's say we're all one big colony with a single shared brain. But for fun, we'll say you're not part of this unified brain. You're a space traveler, and you've just arrived on Earth. The dominant life form is the human being. The first thing that strikes you is communication. You're talking to a young guy on the street. "We live here," he says, and abruptly walks away. "In peace and calm." A woman riding a bike zooms past you. "All the people here," a construction worker shouts from the roof of a nearby building. "Work for the common good," an elderly lady says, sitting on a bench. You communicate simultaneously with all people, as if with one person. If someone starts a conversation with you here in the city, then any person on the other side of the planet can continue the dialogue. 8 billion people on Earth know what you're talking about right now and know what you look like. As a single organism, the entire world population is aware of everything happening at any moment in time. There's no need for phones or texting. You don't need to call and check up on your friend or relative. You know how they're doing, and they know how you're doing. One person can't do something in secret from others. It's as if your pinky toe decided to live an independent life. You'd immediately know about it. You can't plan to take something without asking or do someone wrong. That person shares your thoughts. You can also forget about surprising someone with a gift. They already know. They were in your head when you bought it. In ordinary life, every person has their own inner world, secrets, mysteries. Not anymore. Here, everyone knows everything about each other because we are each other. People see the same dreams. No one's hiding anything. Lies no longer exist. For such a huge organism in the form of billions of people, there's only one goal: prosperity for the unit. People here don't build monuments to themselves. They don't create and compete for hundreds of different brands of cars, phones, accessories, or clothes. Everyone lives like bees in a honeycomb. Many of the houses and buildings are completely identical for the sake of efficiency. But some are real works of art, beautiful architecture and highly developed cities are decorations for the global mind. Every resident knows exactly what their duties are. That person uses a car to deliver cargo. Another is walking to an office every day. Others use planes and ships to get their job done. There are millions of different tasks, and none of them is pointless. If the brain wants a castle, the individuals build it. If the brain needs a spaceship, they create it. Many inhabitants work in a power plant or food factory, so everyone gets all the necessities for a normal, comfortable life. There's no need for newspapers or official announcements. If scientists make a discovery, each person on the planet will know about it instantly. A lot of jobs involve keeping an eye on the planet and atmosphere so it doesn't get too dirty. It's all for the good of the common being. If even just one of the individuals isn't okay, anyone nearby will do everything possible to help them. Think of it like one of your fingers being weak or hurt. The whole hand can't grasp as strongly. Again, the unit needs strong, healthy individuals. But it's not all work and business. Any brain likes to relax, so people here organize parties on a planetary scale. There's also entertainment, just not the kind you're used to. No one makes movies or TV shows. There are no actors or glamorous stars. And what's the point of scriptwriters or a film crew if the rest of the planet knows what it'll be about and how it'll end before the movie even comes out? No, the main entertainment here is science. So many resources are thrown into exploring the planet and space. The entire world holds its breath as a submarine descends into some unexplored part of the ocean. What's that? A new species never seen before in the Mariana Trench. As soon as the scientist sees the underwater cam footage, the whole planet rejoices at the discovery. Still, there are countless jobs connected to space exploration. The brain strives to find someone similar, another thinking being, an unknown one. Improvement and preservation of cities and nature. It's all top priority, so people can work and study comfortably. If you're working on a book or scientific article, it's much easier to do it in a clean place with access to food and water. When you, the visitor, arrived on this earth, you were given the most generous welcome. You're the second mind in this world, and you're very interesting to billions of people. But our collective mind comes with familiar baggage. The brain of an ordinary person isn't perfect. You know that feeling when you doubt yourself or you can't make the right decision. Part of you wants to quit a job you don't like, and the other part persuades you not to. You constantly go back and forth with your mind, lost in your own thoughts. It can distract you from work, keep you up at night. Here, these doubts are projected onto billions of people, and conflicts arise among them. Maybe the rooftop worker would rather be controlling that sub, exploring the ocean depths. Yes, everyone is needed. What they do is just as important. But we all have preferences, right? The collective mind can get upset, feel exhausted, or be desperate. We're still human after all. When this happens, the population slows down. The brain is sluggish, production lags. It's as if the whole world is in a fog. But sooner or later, this feeling passes, and the collective brain is in a good mood again. The busy bees return to their usual routine. Progress continues. Every year, the organism expands. More and more people are born. In the future, space and resources may no longer be enough. That's why setting up camp on a different planet is a growing priority. The first ships have already been built. They'll send hundreds of thousands of people to the Red Planet. As soon as this happens, the brain's horizons will expand. people still on Earth will know everything happening on Mars. You've been living on this Earth for many years, documenting what you see, this strange but highly efficient human being. But you've also noticed mysterious creatures living here. They only appear at night, live deep underground, and look just like the rest of the humans. But the oddest thing is that the 8 billion people and their collective intelligence don't notice these inhabitants. Soon you realize that these creatures are the subconscious. They hide somewhere deep, but at the same time, they control all those who live on the surface. As in the ordinary human brain, the subconscious mind is a mystery here. It affects the emotions and psyche of every person. It may even be the source of the collective dreams everyone has. The deepest fears of this species, their unified worries. The being might not be able to explain why it feels so foggy and anxious sometimes. The subconscious below is pulling the strings. Or even behavior. Every memory the brain makes, all the information it takes in, it goes to those below. They use this information to protect the species. Ever had a gut feeling that you're making the wrong decision? Probably because you've met a similar situation and didn't learn from it. You don't remember, but your subconscious does, and it's trying to steer you in the right direction. All of it, above and below, preserves the species. Looks like the human being will be just fine.
You know, your giggles during serious moments aren't laughter at all. It's a defense mechanism that helps you get through tough times. Even though some people understand it, you might experience extreme discomfort if that happens to you. So, to stop yourself from giggling at tense moments, you need to substitute this kind of behavior with something that takes your attention away. Lip licking or even lip biting can help. You can also try biting the insides of your cheeks or even pinch yourself. The sudden pain will stop you from laughing. Or not. Fidgeting is another way out. The main thing is to find something that might distract you. It can be clicking a pen, pressing phone buttons, or even touching your earrings, guys. If you just can't help it, the only possible way out is to leave. Find a good excuse. You can say you're feeling sick and need some fresh air and laugh it out when no one else can see. Laughter can also be a good medicine whenever you feel stressed, but it might be a bit out of place. Anyway, sometimes running away doesn't seem possible and lip biting doesn't help. In this case, you could try to focus on one color in the room. Find all the objects around you and then all the red ones and so on. Even such a small goal can carry your emotions away. Sing your favorite song to yourself. Start counting from 1 to 20 or even recite that weird ad you saw on TV the other night. Again. It's all about switching your attention to something neutral. It usually takes under a minute to calm down when you stop thinking about something that makes you nervous. When you enter a party, chances are all eyes are on you. Keep your eyes wide open to show that you're open to this world too. When you're smiling, keep your mouth slightly open. If the smile is too wide, some people might think it's a bit fake. Well, time to greet everyone here. Remember that a weak handshake may be pretty offensive. It's your first impression after all. If your handshake is firm, people instantly think you're an outgoing and sociable person. Also, those who have a firm handshake are more likely to get a job. And yeah, nobody likes touching cold hands, so warm them up before handshaking. Now, the way someone shakes your hand can show their intentions. A glove handshake means they can be trusted. And if someone touches your arm or shoulder while shaking your hand, it probably means this person lacks communication. Also, carry your handbag, gals, in the left hand. The right one is always ready for a handshake. It's not really convenient to switch hands at the moment when you need to greet a person at a party. Another trick to seem more sociable at any event is to always hold a drink. This way, people around you somehow believe you're more approachable. No matter if it's an old friend or someone you just met, always use the name of the person you're talking to. Yeah, there may be hundreds of guests at a party, but if you repeat their name while talking to them, it'll make them feel special. I had a friend in school who could remember the names of everyone she met at a party. I remember everyone liked her for it too. Throw a compliment to whomever you're talking to. Psychologists claim everything we say influences the way people perceive us. When you give a compliment and say someone's stunning, they subconsciously start thinking you're nice. It works both ways. If you complain someone's not nice, people might think it's you who isn't nice, not the one you're talking about. To get even more people to like you, try a mirroring technique. It's basically all about reflecting and repeating the body language of the person you're talking with. It's always nice to meet someone just like you. As for body language, mind your posture. Keep your chin parallel to the floor and shoulders rolled back all the time. While sitting, keep the legs crossed. It helps to keep a good posture too. Many people can subconsciously feel the mood of the people around them. So, if you want your friend to feel comfortable when they're with you, be in a great mood, or at least try to. Your good vibes will spread, and people will instantly like you just because they feel good when you're around. Expect good things from people. It may sound totally weird, but if you think someone's not nice, you'll behave in a way that reveals all the worst things about this person. Chances are, they won't be really nice to you. If you show friendliness instead, most people will do the same thing. Now, this next one is kind of illogical. If you're too nice and altruistic, some people might not want to work and make friends with you. Sounds weird, but the problem is that selfless people might make other people feel they look worse. Others simply don't believe in altruistic people's sincerity. Yeah, nobody really likes Mr. and Mrs. Perfect. Do they exist at all? So, a good tip is to show how imperfect you can be sometimes. Psychologists say people tend to like those who actually make mistakes from time to time. How true. Now, touching people non-stop isn't a good idea, but a subtle touch can make people feel better about you when you're talking with them. Tap them slightly on the back or touch their arm, but please don't go to extremes. An experiment showed that waitresses who used this technique while returning the change earned bigger tips. Whoa, profit! To make someone like you even more, try telling them a secret. It should be something personal that could be used against you. It works both ways, but your new friend must be sure you won't spill the tea. Trustworthiness is as vital as loyalty and honesty. Casual questions like, "What's your favorite color?" are okay, but "Tell me about your first love" could probably help you get to know this person better. Anyway, be careful about such questions and go ahead only if you're sure it won't hurt anyone's feelings. Your behavior on the internet forms the general impression people have about you. Don't share too many photos on social media. Yeah, it might seem like you're sociable and open. Still, a recent study proved that people don't really seem to relate well to those who overshare on the internet. But don't go to extremes the other way either. Not sharing at all can be even worse than oversharing. It looks suspicious when someone has either too many or too few people on their friends list. Another study revealed that the perfect amount of likability is about 300 people. People who had under 100 people on their list had a low likability rating, while those who had over 300 were seen as looking for popularity or too focused on social media. Hey, can we talk? Forget 300. If you have even 6 true friends who really know you and love you anyway, that's way better than 300 acquaintances. But that's just my opinion. Alright, back to the party. When you talk with someone and get a dissatisfactory answer, try looking them in the eye. This way, many people start feeling something's wrong, which might possibly make them change their mind. Nope, it doesn't work if you ask a stranger to give you their car as a gift. What were you thinking? Whenever you're having a hot discussion and your opponent just won't agree with you, start speaking faster. This way, they just won't have enough time to process everything, and they'll have to think it over again and probably reconsider their opinion. It works both ways. If a person agrees with you, start speaking slower so that they could evaluate the message properly. Again, speaking fast won't get you a stranger's car for free. What's this about cars? The way you ask people for help is important if you want to make sure you'll get what you need. People like feeling important, so if you say, "I need you," you're more likely to get that help. Rock, paper, scissors is famous for helping people make hard choices. There's only one sure way to win it. Right before the game, ask your opponent a random question like, "Did you know we're all made of pixels?" Your friend will be confused and not likely to throw scissors. Of course, it's what friends do for each other is a magic word combination you should say whenever someone says thank you for something you've done for them. Frankly, please say anything except "no problem," which just devalues the kind gesture the person made. Some people tend to forget good things others do for them, but this phrase will make people remember they kind of owe you. Another classic response is, "You're welcome." Hardly hear that one anymore. Reading body language can help you read people's minds. If someone closes their eyes, they're either hiding something or they're just tired of you. Probably both. When a person touches their mouth, it must be because they've just said something they didn't mean to, or they have a cold sore. The way people sit can give them away. Those who lean forward while sitting usually want to make contact and they like the person they're talking with. If a person tends to lean back instead, it shows they're bored and don't really want to talk. Either way, you just found out something about them. You're welcome.
Day 1. You're walking to the central square of your city. In a few minutes, you'll meet your best friend you haven't seen for years. You're there early and call your friend to find out where he is. He picks up the phone, and you ask, "Wait, who is this?"
"Who's calling?"
the friend answers. You get scared, hang up, and stop. Where are you going? The people around also stop. Everyone's looking at each other with surprise. Nobody understands what's going on. Every person on the planet lost their memory. Not completely. You know you're a human being living in the 21st century, in a civilized society. Problems start when you try to connect the events of the past with the present and the future. Also, you forget people's faces. You don't recognize your best friend passing by, and you don't remember if you've got any pets at home. You don't know where you work or who your boss is. You know that money has some value, but forget its purpose. Still, you remember how to drive a car, use the phone, take a shower, read, write, and lock the apartment door. The memory of everyday things remains because you do them without thinking, automatically. The rest of your mind just went blank. Traffic jams form on the roads. People stop their cars because they don't remember where they're driving to. Those who have recently received a driver's license forget driving rules and how to use a car. News and live shows are interrupted. The host begins to tell the weather forecast and then asks, "What's going on?" All the bloggers and journalists working on air have the same question. You turn on the TV and see nothing but confused faces. They understand they're being filmed by video cameras and watched by millions of people, but nobody remembers what they're supposed to do. Directors, promoters, and all the other film crew have no idea what to do next. Soon, all the broadcasts stop. The city is in a state of panic. People understand there's something wrong with what's happening right now. Here's a man running around in tears. He knows he has a family, but he doesn't remember who they are. A girl sitting at the bus stop seems nervous. She's sure she needs to go somewhere, but she's got no clue where and which bus she needs to get on. A group of friends sits at the table in a restaurant and feels uncomfortable, as they no longer understand why they're eating together. Students who are taking an exam right now are consumed by fear. They forget everything they've learned in the last few months, even the name of the subject. Teachers also forget what they teach. For several hours, you walk around the city with a lot of lost people. Everyone knows they live somewhere, but don't remember the exact location. Fortunately, you're not far from home, and when you pass by a multi-story building, it immediately seems familiar to you. You go through 10 floors in search of the right door, and finally, you find your apartment. But the key doesn't fit. An old lady opens the door. "Are you my son?" she asks, startled. You say that you might have made a mistake and head to the next apartment. The keys fit this time. You're finally home. Day 2. You can't go to any website and make a call because providers around the world forgot how to serve the internet. Then, the electricity and water supply stops working. You feel hungry and remember how to make a sandwich. You open the fridge, but there's almost no food. You know that there's a place where you can get some. You get outside, walk through the streets, and find a supermarket. Inside, you see people wandering between the food shelves. You take some bread, veggies, ham, and go to the checkout. It seems you have to do something, but you don't remember what exactly, so you leave the store without paying. Even though the internet and TV don't work, you have fun. You rediscover the world. People become who they really are. Nobody's trying to pretend anymore. A strict boss turns out to be a kind and slightly insecure guy. A woman who has been meditating for several months to control her emotions is angry with everything. People become too straightforward. All internal and social barriers fall apart. You don't think about what other people will think about you because they're all strangers. For some, this brings joy. They feel free and scream out loud on the streets. Others are afraid to leave the house because they no longer feel safe. Day 3. Garbage accumulates in your apartment. Many people just throw waste out the window into the street. But you feel it's wrong, so you throw the garbage in a container near your home. Happy people are walking in the city. They listen to music and rediscover their favorite songs. Everyone communicates happily with each other. No one goes to work. Food and clothes are free. You feel this will not last long. The battery on the phones will run out, so will food and water. Day 4. You ride a bike around the city. You notice more and more garbage is piling up on the streets. There are a lot of people in supermarkets. They're fighting for food. Then, you notice something strange. An alarm goes off from one of the parked cars. The passing guy gets scared and then kicks the car. "What are you?" he asks. It seems to you the memory loss is getting worse. You notice a barrier ahead and realize that you don't know exactly how to go around it. Okay, it's time for a walk. After an hour, you realize you don't know where to go. Where's your home? You're not panicking, as the weather is warm. In the late afternoon, you find a bench in a quiet park and decide to sleep there. Day 5. Bright sunlight wakes you up. You don't remember how you ended up on this bench and don't know exactly where you are. You're thirsty, so you head to look for some water. There's a small pond in the park. A lot of people drink water from it, and you join them. You forgot that you couldn't drink from there. You can take a bottle of soda from a store instead. But wait, what's a store? What's a bottle? Almost all memory is erased. Only your instincts remain. Day 6. You meet a frightened woman with a stick in her hand. She's screaming something at you. You want to ask her what happened, but you don't know the language. The woman gestures, jumps, makes weird sounds, grabs your hand, and leads somewhere. You pass through the streets. People behave like animals. They climb trees, break the windows of houses, pick up leftover food from the garbage. The woman suddenly stops and looks at you. She forgot where to go and what she wanted to show. You also don't remember why you've been following her and leave. What day is it today exactly? And what's a day? You're barefoot, somewhere in the forest, running after squirrels, but you can't catch them. You climb a tall tree and see strange vertical objects in the distance. Some of them emit smoke. It's a ruined city, but you don't remember what a city is. The night comes. You look at the stars and the moon. You reach your hand to grab the Earth's satellite, but it's too high. You climb even higher, but the moon seems at the same height. You look at it and fall asleep right on the tree branch. Morning. You open your eyes and scream in fear. What are you doing up there? Where are you? Why is the city so far away? Why are your clothes torn? Where's your phone and the keys to your apartment? Your memory has returned to you, but you don't remember what happened in the last 7 days. You return to the city and meet surprised people. They don't know what happened either. And the most fun thing is, nobody can solve this mystery since all the cameras in the city were turned off and the news didn't cover these events. Humanity has awakened in the chaos. All you remember is you were in a hurry to meet your friend, and a moment later, you woke up in a tree.